All right. So this is synthesis versus DBQ. I know all of we're now at the point where I'm talking. I know all of us are not in AP, but I know enough of us are in AP that I don't need these overlaps to confuse you. Okay, let's go. So, what is a synthesis essay and why should I care? Remember, we do not copy, we simply paraphrase. So, the synthesis essay is the biggest fish to fry on the AP exam. It is a DBQ. When you get into government, it'll be maybe like an FRQ. In science, it's an FRQ, and you would think of it as the SBAC performance task. All of them are essentially the same. We're going to give you a crap ton of documents, and you should write an essay based on it, okay? You have more time on this essay or allotted to this essay than any other essay. You have an actual 15 minutes to read. However, that 15 minutes to read is to read about 7 documents, sometimes 8. So then those of us who can do division, we're back to 2 to 3 minutes a document. Okay? 45 minutes of writing. Most of the essays you get 40 minutes to write. For this one you get 45 minutes to write. And then finally, it's tough at first, but to be honest, this is what you're best practiced for. You have more practice with having documents in front of you and receiving them and getting quotes from them than practice with anything else. This is actually what should be easiest for you. So. No. An argumentative essay, you have to get the, in the AP argument essay, all of the evidence has to come from outside. In the synthesis essay, you can have a bunch of information from outside. No one cares if it doesn't, if you don't have information from the AP. Good question. As you type, yes, I will be collecting the notes. I'm going to collect the paper notes, and I'm going to collect the type notes. I'm going to post an assignment a week from now that will give you time to annotate your notes, clean up your notes, and write your summary. Because I don't want you to write a very quick summary that doesn't actually help you learn. Click. All right. So, what is a synthesis essay? Per the College Board, that's the definition. Mainly, it's the combining of separate elements. So to synthesize is to take several different ideas and put them together. It's like there are questions on here. If I were writing notes, where would I put these questions? Only there were a particular style of notes that made it easier if I had a question on one side and then notes on the other. Too bad that doesn't exist. All right, more about what is the synthesis. So, this one you actually want to take verbal notes from. All of these topics have what's called the conversation. So, in terms that you understand, the greatest basketball player of all time is a conversation. It is an existing conversation. It has been going on well before Michael Jordan. Wilt Chamberlain, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, now more recently Kobe Bryant, now more recently LeBron James are just what we call entering the conversation. You're doing the same thing with your synthesis essay. You're assuming that this is a conversation that has been going on for years and years and years, and you're just going, hey, libraries. So we talking about libraries? I got information on libraries. Here it is. Okay? It is not coming from the point that the reader has never heard of the topic. It is not coming from the standpoint that you are the authority on the topic. You are literally a person walking into a room of people talking, if we were to just use this, about the post office, right? So, you're just walking into a room People are talking about the post office. You just have to pick up and have the conversation with them so you look like you can hang. Does that make sense? So you support your own ideas with outside sources, but you must cite the sources from the AP. Outside sources mean nothing if they do not match, don't die, if they do not match sources from the AP. Okay? Yes, ma'am. So if you have this idea, we're going to go with post offices. Maybe the government should just pay FedEx. Okay? Did any of the sources mention anything like that? Outsourcing. Can you relate it to any of the sources? So if you cannot, it's just your outside idea and you can't relate it to the sources, and it's considered off topic. There are only two places where you can do that. Anybody can figure it out? Or you can just throw ideas out there. Two places in the essay. The conclusion, and then what else? The intro. Preferably the conclusion, not the intro, unless you do inductive, but we haven't taught that yet. But essentially, in the body paragraphs, if it doesn't relate to one of the sources, you shouldn't bring it up. Your conclusion, you can throw out all the wild ideas ever. Be Willy Wonka, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, make it happen. But the actual meat of the paper needs to be grounded in the AP sources. Also, we'll get more into this later in the slides, but you want to make sure you've grouped the sources together. It is not a DBQ where you're just listing stuff. It is not a DBQ where you're putting all the alike sources together. The information needs to flow together, and I'll talk more about that later. All right, Don't go back. Okay. What to expect on the prompts. Defend, challenge, qualify. Or develop some position about the topic. It's still an argument essay, so this gets to you. Evaluate considerations. It's still an argument essay, but you're arguing based on the information provided, not based on all the information in the world. So it's a limited argument, whereas the number 3 essay is an expansive argument. You have all the information in the world to choose from. This is a limited argument. Okay, so it's designed to be engaging. Okay, so meet our two contenders. A synthesis essay about the French and Indian War, and a DBQ about the French and Indian War, a synthesis essay about television politics. Okay? This is what the prompts would focus on. This is how they would focus differently. So in your notes, I want you to note differences in the prompts. Does that make sense? So don't write the prompts, write what you think is different between them or similar. So, analyze change in political and economic and ideological relations in the given categories. That would be a DBQ. Whereas a synthesis essay would say, read the following sources, including any introductory information carefully. Then in an essay that synthesizes at least 3 sources for support, take a position that defends, challenges, or qualifies the claim that television has a positive impact on presidential elections. Aside from it being long, what else do you see? So I'm going to say, good, I am on time. Take a minute, speak to a partner, and figure out what about these are different. What do you see that's different? Take your minute, go.
I know you went your first one. So we're going to December, right?
Okay. So, just volunteers, what are some things that we should note that are different?
The synthesis essay is more descriptive about what they want in the essay.
Okay, so you have you know how I say, think outside the box. No, there's a box. It's a box. It has ropes. It has chains. It has poles on it. It has a lid on it. And there are padlocks. You have to stay in this box. Okay? It's unfortunate people who do very well on synthesis essays learn to what I call stay inside the box but stick a toe out. So you're in the box, but you occasionally dangle an arm out. Okay? But you need to stay. That's not good. You need to stay relatively well inside the box. Anything else we notice?
The DBQ uses the word analyze, and the synthesis says qualify, challenge, and
Right. So analyze is just, hey, here's information. Here's the way it could be used. You're making an argument here. You have to make a point. You have to convince somebody that this statement is right, wrong, kind of right, kind of wrong. Okay? Here you're just saying, look, here's some ideologies, here's some economic stuff, here's some relations. Yay, here it is, and explain it. This is more explication. Here we're back to argument. Okay? All right. Round 2, number of documents. Okay? In general, DBQ has about 10 documents. Some of them are really little. They have maps, direct sources, historical sources, newspapers, and most of them are primary sources. Okay? Synthesis essay has 6 or 7 op-eds, visuals, statistics, graphs, bars on the issues. This information is generally primary source. This information is not necessarily primary source. Okay? Off record, after looking at several of the free responses, they generally throw in 3 pros, 3 cons, and nobody can really use this to throw you off. Okay? They generally use 2 pro, 1 informational, 1 kind of opinion, 1 with graphs and stuff. Then con, 1 kind of informational, 1 kind of opinion, and 1 with graphs and stuff. And then there's the one that really shouldn't be used at all, but they want to see if you can pick that out, all right? So it's the one that's designed to waste your time. Yay, AP. That's off record. I mean, yes, I'm being recorded, but I mean, we can't officially say that that's what the AP does. It's just Miss Miller's personal opinion. I might have to re-record in 6. All right. How to cite. Okay. So, normally Miss Miller's like, don't copy. But right now, Miss Miller be like, no, seriously, copy this side. You need to know the different forms of citations that are acceptable. Okay? Things we need to know. You need to use half the documents plus 1 in a DBQ. In a synthesis, it's normally 3. 27 documents, 3. 8 documents, 3. 12 documents, 3. 3 documents, unfairly, 3. No matter what the number they throw at you, you can use 3 but always start with 3. Okay? up, bruh?
What are the chances we get a high number of documents?
No idea, but I'll explain that to you later. So, acceptable forms of citation. The author's last name is always an acceptable form of citation. You can also use the good old according to author's last name and or according to title. That works. You can use source A, but they prefer you not. This looks way too much like this. Again, it's 45 minutes, you're rushing, this might happen, but we're going to practice not doing this because it doesn't sound as polished, okay? It doesn't sound English, as it were. Also, citation should immediately follow whatever was borrowed or shared from the document. They want you to cite in MLA, so I will be teaching you how to cite in MLA. Here you can paraphrase, here you need to quote. Yes.
What is APA format? Apparently that's what all colleges use.
All colleges except for English. So if you go to UCLA and you take an English class, you cite in MLA. If you go and you take a psych class, you cite an APA. If you take a statistics class, you cite an APA. So it's not that colleges are just now using APA, it's that APA is for everything else. MLA is specifically for English. Words. So yeah. Don't paraphrase, don't summarize, quote. Not long quotes, not block quotes, not 17 sentences, okay? Not 17 words. 5, maybe 10. It's a synthesis essay, you can use a few more. Analysis essay, you want to keep it real short, 3 to 5 words. Synthesis, maybe up to 10, maybe with hesitation, okay? Next, DBQ is required, okay? You have to know some outside historical information to bring into the DBQ. You have to have outside information. Remember what I always say, AP is a lesson in obscurity. You don't need to know nothing about the topic. They're going to bring you a topic and be like, here. Generally, they try to bring stuff that you've never heard about or never thought about. It's actually less likely that you'll have any idea what's going on in the synthesis. I mean, it's useful, but it's not required. All right, structure. Divide the paragraphs by category, political, social, economic. Organize the essays best to present. Math. For us, you want to intro with the hook, divide it by the facts of your argument, how you are building your argument, okay? Cite as many of the sources as possible to support your argument. Generally, in a DBQ, you'll use source ADE in paragraph 1, source BC H in 2, and then you might double back to A and then use EF or something like that, right? Not here. In a synthesis essay, you want to use as many sources as possible in each essay, and you would like to repeat the use of sources. So you don't want a paragraph about source 1, a paragraph about source 2, and a paragraph about source 3. You want a paragraph about 1, 2, 3 about this argument point. Then you want to use 1, 2, 3 on this argument point. Then you want to use 1, 2, 3 on this argument point. Does that make sense? So every source you use should be weaved throughout your essay, not in specific places in your essay. You want to use them as often and as much as possible. That doesn't mean pick big quotes. That doesn't mean pick huge quotes. That just means quote 2 or 3 times, not quote 2 or 3 times as large. Gauge.
So what do you mean by citing sources as asking? Just use the sources more.
Yes. find a way to use the fourth source in there. So remember, you have to use 3. But why would it be good to use a fourth source, considering the type of essay it is? There it is. Your counterclaim and your rebuttal. So, if it says use 3 and 3 are pro and you're pro, cool. But when you come to your counter argument, you're going to pull from the other set of sources and say, some may say, quote, from a different document. They also might say, quote, from a different document. These people are wrong because go back to my source 1, 2, 3. Does that make sense? That's how you strengthen your argument. So you need to use at least 3, but a good counterclaim and rebuttal will end up using 4 or 5 of the sources because you're going to start refuting the stuff in these sources you don't like. Does that make sense? So that's where the other sources will come from. All right. So the overall skills to be successful in synthesis is a very different set of skills. Knowledge actually doesn't help you at all. This is a skills-based test. It is how well can you take what's given in front of you and write on it. Whereas on the DBQ, you cannot write well on the sources but know a whole lot in your head and make it happen. Completely opposite. DBQ is knowledge-based. Synthesis is skills-based. The synthesis skills will help you on your DBQ. Your DBQ knowledge will do nothing for you here. Nothing. Will not help at all. Okay? You want to define your argument. You need to support an argument. Okay? It needs to be, of course, your own argument. And you need to be able to create your own opinion. In a DBQ, if you have your own opinion on the French-Indian War, no one cares. They want you to be able to state the facts on the French-Indian War, not how you think it should have ended, like a YouTube video. Okay? No one cares. Meh, I'm going to post this. Meh, I'm going to post that. Meh, we're done. All right. I'm going to go click in case you did that one. The 3 summary slides will be posted.